Unmasking the hidden fatigue that's weighing down your soul. The invisible burden you carry every day without realizing it. Imagine this: you wake up feeling exhausted. Not just physically, but deep in your soul. It's as if you've been carrying a weight that no one can see, one that presses down on you in ways you don't fully understand. You tell yourself it's just stress. Just another busy day. Just life. But what if I told you there's something far deeper at play? Something that has been draining your spirit, clouding your mind, and making everything feel so much harder than it should be? We live in a world that tells us exhaustion is normal. That feeling tired is just a side effect of being productive. That running on empty is a badge of honor. But let's be real for a second: how often do you feel truly rested? Not just from sleep, but in your soul? I've been there. Running on adrenaline. Pushing through. Telling myself I'll rest when I'm done. But the truth is, I was never done. And deep inside, I was carrying something heavier than I could handle. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt light? Not just happy for a moment, but truly light, free from the invisible weight pressing on your heart? Most of us are walking through life with an unseen burden. Maybe it's the pressure to be perfect, to meet everyone's expectations. Maybe it's regret over things you can't change. Maybe it's fear of failure. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. These burdens don't show up on a scale, but they weigh us down more than we realize. And here's the scary part: we get so used to carrying them that we don't even recognize the damage they're doing. We just keep going, convincing ourselves this is normal. But deep down, we know something isn't right. Jesus once said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." But here's the thing: most of us don't even know what's truly making us weary. Think about it. If you were physically exhausted, you'd rest. If your muscles ached, you'd stop and recover. But when it comes to our souls, we just keep pushing, hoping that someday we'll feel better. But that day never comes. Does it? What if I told you that hidden fatigue isn't just about being tired? It's about the battles we fight in silence, the ones that drain our energy even when we're doing nothing. The guilt we carry. The pain we suppress. The expectations we feel we can never meet. It's the relentless pressure to perform. To prove our worth. To always be on, even when we're falling apart inside. And here's the real kicker: you don't have to live like this. We've been sold a lie, that if we just work harder, achieve more, or become better, we'll finally feel at peace. But let's be honest, has that ever worked? Has checking off your to-do list ever made your soul feel lighter? Has achieving your goals ever erased the deeper exhaustion inside you? No. Because the problem isn't just what we're doing. It's what we're holding on to. Right now, you might be carrying things you don't need to carry. The guilt of past mistakes. The pain of old wounds. The endless pressure to measure up. The fear of not being enough. And these things, they don't just make you tired. They make you forget who you really are. Jesus didn't just talk about peace. He was peace. And when he said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls," he wasn't talking about a quick fix. He was talking about a whole new way of living. Because here's the truth: real rest isn't about doing less. It's about carrying less. Let me ask you, what are you carrying right now that isn't yours to carry? Is it the weight of expectations? The fear of disappointing others? The belief that you have to have it all together? Or maybe it's the past, mistakes you wish you could erase. Wounds that still haven't healed. Whatever it is, I need you to hear this: you were never meant to carry it alone. Jesus never promised a life without struggle. But he did promise a way to live free. And that freedom isn't about escaping life's challenges, it's about learning to walk through them without being crushed by the weight of them. You've been carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to let them go. But how? How do you let go of something that feels so deeply ingrained in who you are? How do you release the weight of regret? Or fear? Or the never-ending feeling of not being enough? That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Because letting go isn't just about trying harder. It's about trusting something greater than yourself. It's about realizing that the things weighing you down don't define you. So stay with me. Because in the next part, we're going to uncover the one thing that's keeping you stuck, and how breaking free from it will change everything. The one hidden chain that's keeping you stuck in soul fatigue, and how to break it for good. You've been carrying something. Maybe you don't even realize it. But it's there. It's in the way you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. It's in the way you feel drained, even when nothing is physically exhausting you. It's in the way you second-guess yourself, feeling like no matter what you do, it's never quite enough. And here's the truth most people never realize: your soul wasn't designed to carry this weight. So let's get to the root of it. What is this invisible burden that keeps you stuck? What is this hidden chain that's locking you in exhaustion, no matter how hard you try to rest? It's unresolved tension between who you think you should be, and who you really are. Think about it. How often do you feel like you have to be more successful, more disciplined, more loved, more impressive? You scroll through social media and see people who seem happier, wealthier, more fulfilled. You compare. You measure. And suddenly, who you are right now feels less than enough. So you push yourself. You work harder. Try harder. Strive harder. Not just in your career, but in your relationships, in your personal growth, even in your spiritual life. Because deep down, there's this belief: if I can just be better, I'll finally feel free. But here's the problem. The finish line keeps moving. Every time you reach a goal, another one appears. Every time you accomplish something, the relief is short-lived, and the pressure to do more comes back. And here's where the fatigue comes in: you are constantly running toward a version of yourself that doesn't exist. You are chasing an image, a standard, a vision of who you think you should be. But that version of you is always just out of reach. It's an illusion, a mirage, and running after it is exhausting. But what if you stopped? What if, for one moment, you stepped off the hamster wheel and asked yourself, who am I really, beneath all the pressure? What if I stopped striving and just existed? Here's the paradox: the moment you stop trying to be enough is the moment you finally are. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He wasn't just talking about physical tiredness. He was talking about this this deep exhaustion from constantly trying to prove your worth. Because in His eyes, you never had to prove anything. You were enough before you ever did a single thing. You were loved before you ever earned it. You were valuable before you ever achieved success. And the reason so many of us are exhausted is that we're fighting against this truth. We live in a world that tells us our worth is measured by what we do. But Jesus tells us that our worth just is. It's already set. It doesn't fluctuate based on your productivity, your achievements, or your reputation. And once you grasp this, once you really let it sink in, everything changes. Because you no longer have to earn rest. You no longer have to deserve love. You no longer have to prove you are worthy. You can just be. Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you actually believed this? If you weren't constantly trying to be someone else? If you weren't exhausted from chasing an ever-moving goalpost? What would change if you could live from a place of already being enough? For most of us, this thought is terrifying. Because if we stop striving, we fear we'll fall behind. We fear we'll become lazy. We fear we'll never achieve the things we dream of. But let me challenge you on that. What if not striving didn't mean giving up? What if it just meant moving from a place of rest instead of exhaustion? Think about this. When Jesus performed miracles, when He healed people, when He taught, He never did it from a place of trying harder. He wasn't frantic. He wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't drowning in pressure to prove Himself. He moved from a place of peace. From a place of already knowing who He was. And that's what made His life so powerful. Because real power doesn't come from force. It comes from rested confidence. From knowing you are already enough. This is why Jesus told His disciples, "My peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." Not just any peace. His peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from a stress-free life, but from an unshakable identity. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop running? Because the real reason you're exhausted isn't because life is too much. It's because you've been carrying a burden that was never meant for you. And the moment you let it go, that's the moment everything changes. But how? How do you stop striving when striving is all you've ever known? That's exactly what we'll uncover in the final part. Because once you break free from this hidden exhaustion, you'll step into a life that's lighter, freer, and more powerful than you ever imagined. The secret to living light, how to walk in true peace every day. You've felt the weight. You've carried it for so long that you forgot what it was like to live without it. You've tried to outrun it, work through it, push past it, but no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you prove yourself, the exhaustion always comes back. And now, you're standing at a crossroads. One path is the one you've always walked. The path of striving, proving, running towards something just out of reach. It's the path the world tells you to take, the one where your worth is measured by what you accomplish. Where rest is earned. Where peace is a reward for having done enough. But there's another path. A quieter one. A radical one. A path most people never take because it requires something terrifying: letting go. Letting go of the need to be perfect. Letting go of the need to be in control. Letting go of the idea that your value is something you have to earn. This is the path Jesus offered. The path he walked himself. And if you're willing to take it, everything in your life will change. Because peace isn't something you achieve. It's something you receive. Let me say that again, peace is not something you achieve. It is something you receive. We've spent our entire lives chasing peace as if it's a finish line. Thinking that if we just get everything right, then we'll finally feel it. But the truth is, peace isn't at the end of the race. It's what allows you to stop running in the first place. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most at peace. Was it when you were accomplishing things? Was it when you were proving yourself? Or was it in the quiet? Maybe it was sitting outside, watching the sunset. Maybe it was in a deep conversation with a friend, where you weren't trying to impress them, you were just there. Maybe it was in a moment of prayer, where you weren't performing for God, but simply being with Him. What if I told you that's what life is supposed to feel like? That peace isn't supposed to be rare? That the reason you're exhausted isn't because life is too hard, but because you were never meant to live this way? Jesus knew this. That's why He didn't just say, "Come to me and I'll give you a break." He said, "Come to me and I will give you rest." A kind of rest that goes beyond naps and vacations. A rest that reaches deep into your soul. But here's the problem, most of us don't actually want to receive it. We say we want peace, but we cling to the things that steal it. We hold on to control because surrender feels unsafe. We hold on to guilt because grace feels too easy. We hold on to stress because trust feels reckless. We're so used to carrying everything on our own shoulders that the idea of actually letting go seems impossible. But what if the very thing you're afraid to release is the thing keeping you stuck? What if your need to control everything is the reason you're always anxious? What if your need to be perfect is the reason you're always tired? What if the thing you're white-knuckling so hard is the very thing God is asking you to surrender? Here's where the real transformation happens, when you finally stop fighting for peace and start receiving it. So how do you do that? It starts with a simple but terrifying step: trust. Trust that you are already enough. Trust that you don't have to prove your worth. Trust that God's love for you is not based on your performance. Trust that you are allowed to rest. This is where everything shifts. When you wake up in the morning, instead of immediately stepping into stress, you take a breath and remind yourself, I am not what I accomplished today. My worth is not based on my productivity. I am already loved. I am already enough. And when anxiety creeps in, when the old voices tell you that you need to do more, be more, prove more, you choose to respond with something radical: no. No. I don't have to earn my peace. No. I don't have to hold everything together. No. I don't have to carry this weight anymore. Because the truth is, you were never meant to. You don't have to fight for rest. You just have to receive it. And when you do, you start living differently. You move through your days with a sense of lightness. You make decisions from a place of peace, not pressure. You stop striving for approval and start living from love. And most of all, you start seeing life the way Jesus did, not as a constant struggle, but as a gift. So let me leave you with one final question. What would happen if, just for one day, you truly believed you had nothing to prove? Would you live differently? Would you breathe deeper? Would you finally feel free? Because that freedom is available to you right now. The only thing left to do is receive it. And that is how you break free from the hidden fatigue that's been weighing down your soul.